Hello, Kristin Thompson. How are you today?
Welcome to the Brave Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Jena Rodriguez. Entrepreneurs are leading the way and creating a whole new level of possibility. Each week, listen in to hear how brilliant entrepreneurs share their brave secrets. Entrepreneurship is not the easy way. It is the brave way. Now let's get our brave on.
I'm so happy to be with you. Thanks for having me.
I am thrilled. I was just telling you, and it's like I feel like I've known you forever. I felt like that the first moment I found you, but that was like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Wow.
And this is our first time actually getting to meet in person.
Yes.
Quotes.
It's the joy of online and video marketing and all these things where we really can connect with people and in meaningful ways that we maybe haven't met or we haven't met in real life, which is wild, but 2020.
2020, sign me up, right? Sign me up. You know, and I love the fact that we're actually kind of reframing the use of technology and finding ways to connect and, you know, and be with people. So I know it's not ideal, but life is not always ideal.
Someone said, describe the year. If you were going to describe this year, what would you say, or something like that? And I said, it's like a wild rodeo ride. Like that's how I've experienced her. It's not necessarily bad. I mean, I know there's bad things happening in the world, but it's just a year where you got to ride them cowgirl. Don't get too set in your ways. Go with the flow. It'll all work out. Oh, I lost your audio somehow. What happened?
Oh, there I am. I hit the button by accident.
You're back.
I'm back. Hey, I was just saying, yes, ride the roller coaster and enjoy the fun of it.
Yes.
So here we are. So for those of the audience, those of them that are new to you, would you mind sharing what your work is in the world?
Yeah, my company is called Speak, Serve, Grow, and I help other business owners learn how to use the power of kind of one-to-many marketing and sales through speaking, being that primary way to just generate a ton of visibility and have a big spirit of service, which we're all about. That's why it's called Speak, Serve, Grow, not Speak, Sell, Grow, right?
Yeah,
so we just teach people how to get out with their message with a big spirit of service, change the world in the way that they were meant to do, but learn how to do that in a way that will also build your business. And my clients love doing both at the same time, and so do I.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And that is truly what catapulted my business, was speaking and serving in that one-to-many model.
Yes.
Just, 7 years ago. So it's so worth it. And like we were just talking before we hit the button was, I wasn't always comfortable with speaking. I don't know your journey. I would love to know, but it was once I realized I was serving, that it became more about the audience and the people in it than me. Right. And
it's huge. I always share, anytime I'm speaking to a new audience, that I'm way more introverted than how I present. I present like, oh, she's a zany extrovert, but I'm actually much more introverted. I need to regroup and have quiet time and all of that. So there's that. And then I'm also a pretty neurotic, naturally nervous person. That's my baseline, is oh, watch out, be careful. So I was terrified the first time I was going to give a talk. I was actually only a few minutes from where I live now. I didn't live here then. That's just a coincidence. But I sat in the parking lot. I was only going to speak to 8 people. It was like a little mortgage office. I was going to speak at the sales meeting.
Right.
And I just sat in my car. I was there probably an hour early. I had some Starbucks, and I just kept looking at the building and looking at the clock. And I just thought, I'll just go home. F this. I'm not going up there. What am I doing? This is crazy. I was working myself up into a tizzy, and I really legitimately wanted to just go home. I thought,
fight or flight. Right.
I'm out. Yeah. They can't, what are they going to do? It's a free talk. They can't fire me, I
don't have to refund them.
but I worked for a personal development company. We can talk about that or not talk about that, but that's how I learned how to speak. And it was really angel on the other side of me was like, Kristin, like these people are counting on you.
Yeah.
Company hired you to go like share their message and fill their workshop. This poor manager thinks you're leading the meeting. Like he didn't prepare anything for the day. Like just get up there. And I really don't remember much. I remember walking in and I remember the panic attack I was having in the car beforehand. And I really have no idea what happened in the middle, but I lived. And I sold a couple tickets to the workshop, which was great. And it proved to me, and over time, I came to the same kind of awakening that you had, which is if you can get over yourself, and it's what I really like to talk about a lot now with clients, is it's if you can get over yourself and even be willing to like sacrifice looking cool, sacrifice worrying or trying to control how you're being perceived, all of that, once you let go of that and you just focus on like, please let me help one person today. I hope more. But if I can just help one person today, it'll be worth it. You can do it. Like you can literally learn and train yourself to be yourself in front of other people, and you will save a lot of money on therapy along the way because you're going to have to work through some stuff to be able to do that. But it's such a gift, it's so freeing when you can just be yourself.
Yeah. And that is so beautifully said, because that I think when it really clicked for me and my nerves calmed down was realizing that I was enough. I was enough being myself. I didn't have to put on the show. And you were just saying, it's like, I don't remember the middle. I actually don't usually remember the middle either, even to this day, because I found that the more that I'm present and just in the moment of the talk, I know my guidelines, I know my, the structure and the points, but not, I let me be the filler. I let the present moment be the filler. And I don't know if that's how you teach, people to talk, because I know you're brilliant at what you do. But I think it eases up the nerves when I can just be myself and be present and just riff. I had a speaking,
it's like we're so everybody has their own voices in their head, but mine were worrying about what I look like, because I'm always like a little off, like something's always a little weird, or the color, I don't know how to put myself together like so elegantly that I'm not going to be criticized. So I always know, like, even when I'm trying to conform, it's a little quirky. I'm a little quirky. My sense of humor is offbeat. So if something, organically comes out of my mouth, Lord only knows, who that might offend. And as a woman, I think I had a lot of hangups about being confident and not really being apologetic when I'm at the front of the room, but just like taking charge and like, here we go. And just doing that with total confidence. So, and everybody comes with their own voices. I'm too this, I'm not enough of that. I'm not pretty enough. I'm too pretty. They're not going to take me seriously. I'm too young. I'm too old. And the really kind of beautiful thing, if you're willing to go out and speak and you like test the waters, is you'll learn that like when you're in front of the right groups, most people are really going to love you, including all of your quirks, in a way that your family probably never will be able to. Because maybe you're a lot or a little or whatever your thing is, but in that hour talk or in the 3 days of your live event, like your community will really appreciate that about you. And there's something really kind of magical about that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel like I think this translates, of course, across all of our life, right? Not just from a stage, but is the more we embrace our quirks and the more we embrace who we really are and not try to conform or change it or be something we're not. That's the hardest time. That's when you're in your head versus your heart. And just like really connecting with people. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the more we just can relate to people and connect with them and be like, I'm real, you're real, you're not a cardboard sitting in like watching the baseball game. You're not a cardboard human being sitting in the audience. We're human. And I also say that, especially from the stage conversation, is that, and then therefore life in general, I think most people are they're there to see us win, not fail. Right?
100%. I mean, there's those one or two people who are, that I say are the naysayers in any audience. but 99% of the people, they're rooting for you. And the less that stands between you and your audience, meaning, an affected way of speaking, and, everything is choreographed and every word is scripted. And, that especially now, I think people bristle at, just because of social media, because of reality television,
Right.
like all of those trends kind of peel back the curtain on everything being like so polished and perfect. And so in a weird way, a lot of what I work with on people is just literally learning how to peel back the masks and the layers that they're wearing, and just figure out, can you learn how to confidently be yourself? And then you're right, like in terms of messaging, I don't have my clients script every word of a talk or every word of a webinar, because then you're focusing on saying words, which is a completely different focus than connecting with your audience, listening to what's lighting them up, connecting with them, getting them to laugh. Like those are the things that people are going to remember. Have great content, but it's also an experience. And that connection piece is critical. And you can't connect if you're putting on a show. Like that's a whole different
play. And somebody's like just observing a movie, then versus an actual connection on from a speaker to an audience. So
yes,
I love that. And so I want to dive into kind of before you had figured all this out.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, right. Meaning, just your journey of self-discovery. And I didn't know that you had worked for a personal development company.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, what you were speaking to, a lot of the mask and stuff is really that egoic self that's trying to always protect us from what we think is going to be harmful, when it's really an illusion. And I feel like that takes a lot of self-discovery, self-reflection, and personal development. And so I'm curious, what had you, kind of step into that journey? What's been challenging about it? And just some of your backstory.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Well, I definitely, this is not anything, and I always feel like everything sounds like a story. So I just mean, like, from my heart of hearts, this is not anything I would have ever imagined I would do for a living at all. Like, I never thought I'd own my own company. I never thought I would work in sales. Like, I came from a family where you just got a job, and that was it. There were no entrepreneurs. There are no entrepreneurs in my family. So that just wasn't even in my orbit at all.
Yeah.
And I was a real train wreck in my 20s. So my 20s, just imagine me living in Hollywood, being drunk most of the time.
I was probably here with you. No, I'm just kidding.
That'll give you just the gist of my 20s, just a very rambling sort of lost mess. And then I kind of stumbled into advertising. We don't need to go all the way down that road, but just know that that was also a fluke. And what I found, I worked for radio stations and then ultimately TV stations. So I worked for the NBC station in California. I would sell advertising to local advertisers. And what I fell in love with was the marketing part, and really helping local advertisers write their ads, because if their ad worked, they would buy more advertising from me. And so I'm sort of fluking my way into my love of like writing great copy and marketing and what works and what lights people up, but it's all not real on purpose. But that career, once I found it, I thought, oh, this is it. I make a good living. I'm a salesperson. So it had some structure, but you had some freedom, and that was perfect. But then when we were looking to start a family, my husband and I moved here to Portland. And we both were pretty firm on my not working like, a 9 to 5 down in a cubicle downtown, all of that. That's when I found the job with the personal development company. And when I said yes to that opportunity, to me, it felt like I had just said, like, I'm joining a circus. Like, like, no exaggeration, it felt that insane of a choice, like that outside of my frame of reference or any box that had ever been, set in front of me as a life option. It felt insane.
Got it.
And I give credit to my husband because he's just a super grounded person. And so that's me, like, feel like I can go like, woo, let me see.
Hands in the air.
And he's like the calm, grounded one.
Right.
but I had stuff that they wanted you to have. Like I knew how to sell. I knew how to, if you work in commission sales, you know how to manage your day. You don't need someone looking over your shoulder, blah, blah, blah. But they are the ones that taught me how to speak and sell, because that was their business model. They had speakers all across the United States. We would all go out and give the same word for word scripted talk and sell people into their workshops. And the gift, and what this has to do with your question, is that you were like, that's all you did was give talk. So every month I would speak maybe 12 times a month, 15 times in a month.
Got it.
All over Portland, anywhere. Salem, I would drive an hour, go give a talk, come back home. So the gift in that is that you have so many at-bats. You're just giving a talk, great. Get up, give a talk, get up, give a talk. So there's this great, like anything, if you are repeatedly doing it with coaching, because I had, they give you a coach to mentor you, you get really good really fast. Like, because I was speaking as many times in a month as many people would do in an entire year.
Right. Or lifetime.
Or lifetime. So great way to break through the fear. Great way to learn quickly what is working, what is tanking, and to also not get super attached to any one talk. This one tanked. Guess what? I have 10 more on the calendar.
Next. Yeah.
So there were so many. I mean, I am so thankful for that opportunity, because I got so many gifts. It was the half step out of working for a corporation like Hearst Argyle to having my own business, because I was an independent contractor. I got to work from home. I got to sort of set my own schedule, and I learned how to speak. And like really early on, I told them, this is what we should be teaching. Like what we do is the coolest thing that we should be teaching. And they were like, we have a business already. Thank you. It was like goal setting and time management and memory training and all these other things. And as the economy sort of tanked, I basically shifted gears. I said, I'm gonna go over here and do it myself on the topic that I have now fallen in love with, and kind of off to the races I went. But that training ground of getting up and speaking so regularly with mentorship and someone helping me adjust, that's what helped me learn how to be myself, how to break through, and how to connect with audiences. Because in the beginning, when I was wearing that mask
and the nerves and
I'm nervous, and when I get nervous, I get really serious, and I'm like, there's no jokes. There's no it's boring, right? And then the minute, the zingers started flying out, audiences started laughing, and the whole energy in the room would change. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I've been doing this all wrong. I got to let the crazy stuff actually come out of my mouth and stop tamping it down, because that's what's building that connection.
Love that. And I think, what I'm hearing, the kind of the nuggets within that is that, first of all, if you're scared to death of something, but it's like the right thing to do, or, it's going to be very helpful, is to do it over and over and over until you just like work all the kinks out, and you work out the fear kinks, and you work out the nauseous kinks, and whatever it is. And ironically, when I started speaking myself, and it was one of the biggest things I overcame. I literally almost failed speech class in college. I was like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to get in front of the room. And it was so just terrifying. Right. And so, but I threw myself into gigs. I just was like, at least 4, 5, 6 a month. I mean, that was a lot for me.
Well, that's a lot for most people. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and I had to find them all and, sign up and do, and I didn't care if there was some of them, even one person, 2 people showed up to the gig.
And I love that though. I have spoken, you said share all the deep, dark, I've spoken to 3 people. I've spoken to 30 people. I've spoken to 5 people. I spoke when I was pregnant, or, when I first got pregnant, I would throw up in the car. I'd go in the bathroom, throw up, go give the talk, throw up. Like, I've done it all. I've given talks where I walked out with nothing, and I just could not, create a connection. And I've slayed rooms at live events where people trampled each other to buy from me. I've had all of that. And what you learn, if you are willing to go out, whatever it is that's calling you, is you just learn to let go of trying to do it perfectly, number one. And you also start to learn that it's not all about you. In other words, those 0 talks, Sometimes it was that I didn't do a good job. Sometimes it's just not the right group.
Yeah, it just didn't connect, right?
And then you can go in front of the right group and then you feel like a rock star. You go in front of the wrong group, you feel like a turd, and it's the same talk and you're the same person. So you start to learn, like, maybe don't take it all so personally. Take personal responsibility. I'm really big on that.
Yes,
but
me too.
you know, I always say you can't sell $1,000 workshop to a worm, you know, like, meaning, no, I'm not trying to call a person a worm. I'm just saying, like, you could tap dance all day long. A worm is not buying from you. Like, the wrong person, it ain't about you at that point. It's just not the right fit. And so, yeah, there was a ton of learning. And most of it was get over yourself, stop being egoic. For me, it gets couched in what I call, aw shucks, they're not going to like me. But at the end of the day, you're still focused on who, you know, yourself. So get over yourself, get out and try to help somebody, be willing to be imperfect, and like really cool stuff will come to you in terms of opportunities, self-acceptance, visibility, clients, business. It'll all come to you if you are willing to just focus on serving people.
Yeah. And I really agree with that. I think it's, you know, as with anything, whether it's speaking or building a business, a lot of people are obviously jumping out of, or the jobs went away, especially right now. And they're jumping into businesses in some way. And for me, speaking was like the thing that I was like, if I'm going to do, I started with networking and that got my feet kind of wet. As far as standing in front of a room, giving a 60-second. But then I moved into asking at those networks for the speaking gig. And that's the one to many, as you speak about. So, you know, if you are starting a business, speaking is absolutely, you know, a powerful way to go. And you might say the first thing you say to yourself is like, I'm not a speaker. Well, you got to flip that around and say, I am, and then just go feel all the things you're going to feel.
Yeah. I say, I'm not a speaker either. And I've been doing it for 10 years, you know?
Yes, exactly.
I don't see myself that way, but if you have the heart of a teacher, or you're like helping people, or you just really love your area of expertise, you know, you can go sit in a networking group and talk to 3 people, or you can go talk to everybody at once.
Exactly.
And then pick up and go give the same talk to another networking group, and then pick up and go give a talk to another networking group. And now you're cooking with gas instead of staring at the same 20 people every week saying, you want to buy now? You want to buy now? How about now?
How about now? Are you ready?
I'm like, how about you just give it to new audiences? It works a lot better.
Yeah. Same hour of time, right? That you would spend at the same network meeting.
A lot more done.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's dive into, and I love that you brought up personal responsibility. I call it personal ownership. But I gather it means similar things. And so what does it mean to you, and how has it impacted your life?
Yeah, I just, like, the buck stops here. Whatever my results are, whatever's going on in my life or my business, this is what I control. And so if I go give a talk, my job is to do my very best, no matter the circumstances. I've had microphones go out. I've had slides go out, like all of those things. Great. Can you still do your job? Yes. Can you still put a smile on? Yes. I just talk a little louder. Can y'all hear me in back? Great. Well, let's keep trucking.
Move closer.
Like, or scooch on in. Like, it's a matter of, you know, I just see in life, and certainly as a coach, that when people externalize and they're looking for all the reasons why things aren't going their way, it usually doesn't work out so well in the end. And as a business owner, and in your relationships and all of that, I just find it works so much better when you say, well, my side of the street is what I'm responsible for, and I'm going to keep that clean. And that doesn't mean I hold myself to some sort of perfect standard. It just means do my very best. And so if something's going wrong with my team in my business, I look at myself. I don't go, what's wrong with all of you people? I look at Kristin Thompson and what do I have in place? And am I supporting them properly? And do they have what they need? And again, if I'm at a talk, it doesn't matter that it's not my venue. If I've been at events where someone's vacuuming in the hallway and the room is getting hotter, and I see a speaker going up on stage, and I will go quietly find someone and go outside and whisper, can you vacuum somewhere else? And then grab the event person and go, you might want to turn the air on. Like, just do your very best with what you can control to make your so that your circumstances are the best, but be, you'll just be a lot happier because
Yeah.
this is all I can control. I can't control anything else.
I love that. And, and I talk a lot about the ego tricks that we play, that the ego plays.
Yes.
There's 14 of them that I've identified, and one of them being, I can't is one, right?
Yes.
So, and judgment, which means we're looking outside of ourselves. I call that the position, holding a position and rightness and opinion. And when we are looking outside of ourselves, we immediately have given away our personal power to create the reality we desire, whatever it is, wherever we are. And I think that's really important for people to get right now. We're generating the experience of this world that we're living in right now. And if you want it to feel different, look different, change eventually into something more or better, then it starts with us. And that personal ownership is primary. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I just saw today, I don't know if this was probably just went by my feed or something on Facebook, that Matthew McConaughey said that there were consequences in his family if you said, I can't. I just read that. So it's funny that you brought that up. And yeah, here in my house, we have a saying, which is, if there's a way, I can find the way.
Yes.
Like you might not know the way, but that's not an excuse to sit down and give up. So we go, if there's a way, I can find the way. Okay, well now you can start looking because at least you're open to the possibility that it exists. I think that's huge. What was the second thing you said?
I said I can't, and then position, but position's about the judging others, judging the circumstance, having an opinion, but not letting anything else in. It's like looking outward, pointing that way. Yeah.
I think that's big. And I think especially for people who are highly visible, I talk about that, not in those words, but at my event, I talk a lot about like, if you're in an audience, if you want to be a speaker, for instance, and you're in an audience, be the audience member that you would want to have if you were speaking. And I think it's very easy to be the person at the back of a room or at the back of somebody's event online or in person and be snarking and criticizing. And I don't attract a lot of that. I'm sure you don't either, just because of how we roll. But it's something that I think is important especially for business owners, to guard against being a naysayer or hanging out with a lot of naysayers, because you miss out on so much learning while you're focusing on there's a typo in the workbook.
You're right.
Those people.
I'm like, I really don't care.
I just tell everybody there is a typo in the workbook.
There is a typo, and I like it.
Enjoy it. But if you bring it to my team, we can't change it because it already got printed. So put your mind on something productive.
And I think that I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I would be the one that's like looking for the typos, in my own work. But the moment I released that egoic behavior and the requirement of needing perfection and control and all of that, my business grew, my, obviously relationships and speaking, all of the things that we show up for shows up differently, and like life can actually be really magical when you're not trying to make it perfect.
1,000%. Right? You're reminding me of very early on in my business. I don't remember what year it was. It doesn't matter, but it was a chunk of years ago. And do you know Sandy Krakowski?
I don't
familiar
think
with her name.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. She does like social media stuff, and she's been doing 7 figures for many, many, many years. And she was doing it when I was just like crossing into 6 or multiple 6 figures.
Right.
And she already had a multi 7-figure business. And it was before I hit 6 figures, and I was trying to think about creating my first product.
Yeah.
And I just kept not, I need this, but I don't have that. It has to be video, but I don't have any money. And I wasn't even making any money yet. I'm doing nothing, basically. I'm ruminating. Okay. So she sends out some email, some bundle of things that she was offering for sale. And it was really, really cheap. So I bought it, and I thought, well, this will help because I'll see how she put it together. Just kind of like look at how she put it together. And when I open it, what do? I go into the judgment zone that you were just talking about. And now I'm making a list in my mind of everything that's wrong with this, this great woman's work.
Right.
And why wasn't it edited? And I could hear the doorbell ring and whatever silly things were going on in the recordings.
Gotcha.
And then it was like one of those moments where you kind of come out of yourself, your higher
Mhm.
self is like, oh, look at you doing that thing. and that version of me was like, just a little food for thought, hun. She makes 7 figures. You're trying to get
Perfectly.
to 6 figures. So I'm kind of curious.
That's
Which
right.
one of you actually has the problem?
Yes.
And it was like, oh, like the
Yeah.
whole brain opened up. It was like, oh, damn, like I'm the one with the problem. What if I got over myself? Because what is she doing? She's putting
Yes.
it out there. It's not perfect, but she's marketing it. She's selling it.
Selling it.
She's helping people. So what
That's
if you
right.
got over yourself and did that? And sure enough, I literally unlocked me. I created a course. Like
Amazing.
within probably 60 days, I launched my very first program, and I didn't make $1 million off of it, but I sold a couple copies and I made some money and
Got
I
started.
learned my lesson, which is get over yourself and get to helping people.
Yes. Get over it. Stop judging, judging yourself and judging others. And another one that probably steps in a lot for entrepreneurs, and especially, is comparison, is my other ego trick.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that's a
We
good
compare
one.
ourselves, we measure, we have the imposter syndrome, like all that starts to kick in.
Yes.
And I mean, you can do that the moment you lay in bed in the morning and start flipping through social media.
Sure.
The ego goes into compare. I'm not doing enough. Their life's better. It's prettier. They seem happy. I'm
Yes.
not happy, like compare. And so I highly recommend don't look at the social media first thing in the morning.
Yes.
But because your ego will start the day versus your higher self, like you said.
Yes.
And I appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like so much is getting triggered right now. There's a lot going on for people. And I think if we can take personal ownership, we can become self-aware, we can, step into our noticing when we're judging and who's really at fault here. And I don't mean that literally, like blame.
Well, no, but it was true. I mean, and you got to be able to laugh at yourself. And
Yes.
I've told that story for as long as, I've had the awakening, because
It changes everything.
it changes everything. And when we take ourselves so seriously, it's good to have high standards, but there's a moment to not take yourself so seriously that you're stopping yourself from moving forward. And there are leaps in life. There's leaps in personal relationships. There's leaps in business. When you want to go to the next level, you're going to risk, well, I might not look cool, or it might not sell out. Oh, what if people don't like? You're always going to have to be taking these mini leaps, and you've got to like lighten up a little bit around yourself to give yourself room. I guess it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just say like, hey, I don't need to be perfect. You're not going to die if your program doesn't sell out. Newsflash. Luckily, what we do is not brain surgery. No one's lives are actually at risk. So
that's right.
Just have a little fun and go for it.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think that's the optimistic, kind of lighthearted approach all of us could benefit from in life, and kind of just lighten up. Just lighten up, everybody. Lighten up. Keep it easy.
I don't know if you know the movie Meatballs with Bill Murray. It's a very old, like probably a 70s or early 80s movie. Yeah. And there's a great documentary, weird, quirky little documentary about Bill Murray called Bill Murray Stories, I think is what it's called.
Gotcha.
That your people might want to go watch. But anyways, there's a scene in Meatballs where Bill Murray is kind of rallying his softball team. There's a big softball, softball off. I don't know anything about sports.
I don't either.
A game, and they're at a camp, right? So the one, team, the other team, and he's giving them this like big speech, and the big like rallying cry of his speech, the big moment is he gets everybody chanting, "It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter." And like that, I still play that in my head when I'm getting too hung up on like, it has to, and it's got to work. Well, it just doesn't matter. What if you just let go of the results?
Something I just, every so often I get, into worry. I worry about something or,
Sure.
and I'm stuck on why is it not happening faster and
Yes.
all that. And then I flip it to like, this is not going to matter in 1 year. It's so not going to matter in 1 year.
Zoom out.
There's another way to like, just get yourself out of the I call it
heavy energy.
Yeah.
Why not?
Just let it go.
It just doesn't matter. Now, if you're listening, you can chant that to yourself.
We may have to create a recording of that. A little GIF, right? It doesn't matter. But this has been so fun, and I love your humor. I love your quirky. I've always loved it, and that's what I told you. I've like probably stalked you for years, and that was the one thing I remember of you is how real you are about it, and whatever stage you're on. And I think that's what people need more than anything. And so just giving us a little insight into your world has been really a blessing today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I could chat with you for hours.
I know, we should try that someday. I would love that. And so real quick, I want to make sure everybody can connect with you. What's the best way to do that?
Oh, sure. Well, I'm at Speak, Serve, Grow on like Twitter and Instagram, although I mostly hang out on Facebook, so people can find me there. And if they want to just grab something free and fun, they can visit speakingreallyworks.com. And we've got some great free training up there for you for listening to this podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
And one final question that I love to ask my guests that you have no idea is coming.
I'm excited.
I know, right? So if this was your absolutely last stage, last talk, last interview, so no more stages.
Yeah.
Speak, serve, grow person of all people. If this was it, last one, what would you want to say to the world?
Oh gosh, that's such a big question. Okay, I think what I would say is, on the theme of what we've been talking about, and also just an important lesson in my own life, is be yourself and forgive people for being themselves.
I love that.
Like, we all need to just give each other a little more grace. And I say that as someone who is very sensitive and takes things way too seriously in her own life. So I'm speaking to myself when I say this, but yeah, just, as much grace as we need to give ourselves to be ourselves and all of our quirks and all of our foibles, if we can give that to other people, I think we will all be happier and the world will be a happier place. And when it's our time to pass on, we'll be happier.
No regrets.
No regrets. I'm the daughter of an alcoholic mom, and she passed away quite a few years ago now, from drinking. And she regretted it. Of course, she felt terrible. And when she was in the hospital and that was all kind of setting in, she was expressing that, and she said, well, I know I haven't been a perfect mom. And I was like, well, good news. I haven't been a perfect daughter, and we are all just stumbling our way through this world. And when we love each other deeply, we bump into each other. When we don't know someone well, we bump into each other. And that's just part of life. But if we can forgive and remind people that we love them and allow each other the latitude to stumble from time to time, then we can all leave the world a little happier, I think.
Yeah, I love that. If we can just know that we may not be witnessing someone else as their higher self, but their ego, and then just give them a little compassion, because underneath all that crap that we all use occasionally, all those ego tricks, there's higher self.
And I say this again as someone who needs to hear it as much as she's saying it.
Me too. I teach myself all day long.
That's right.
Talking to myself all day long. So beautiful to spend this time with you again. And thank you so much for your transparency and your heart. And I just really appreciate it. So good to be with you after all these years.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And for anyone listening, please make sure you take advantage of her generosity and visit her website and her resources. And if this truly shifted something in for you, kind of giving you that like light bulb moment or aha, or just you took something away positively, please share with us. Review us on iTunes, share it with Kristin and I. We would love to hear from you. And there's a lot of you listening, and we don't always know that the impact is being made, but we appreciate when you share that impact with us. So until next time, let's go get our brave on. See you soon.